to the regular session of the mayor and city council of the city of College Park. I'm Mayor Bianca Motley Broom. It is 7:31 p.m. We have all council members present, which constitutes a quorum. I'm calling the meeting to order. Our first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
The United States of America.
And to the republic,
and to the republic
for which it stands.
One
nation, under
one
God,
nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice
with
for
liberty and justice for all.
The next item on our agenda is the invocation. That'll be handled by Chaplain Walker this evening.
Okay, Chaplain Walker, can you unmute your mic?
Is that all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let us pray. Almighty God, we've gathered tonight for the task of being with the mayor and the city council as they do the governing work for the people of College Park. Their work will be using the laws of College Park, the laws of the state of Georgia, and the laws of the United States for our foundation and guidance as we do the work for the people. However, we pause before we begin our meeting to remember that all laws, all order, all is possible because of you, your love, your creation, and your revealed laws of the right way to govern, the right ways of ethical attitudes, and the right ways of establishing order and pursuing the people's business. We praise that we can remember that you have let each of us know in our hearts the meaning of equality, the meaning of inclusiveness, and the meaning of responsible action and fairness. We give a special thanks for the leadership of our mayor and the deliberations and the decisions about our city councilmen. We also give thanks for our chiefs, our department heads, along with all the workers in our city who perform their responsibilities to see that we have a good life. We honor them, their labor, and their service to help us realize and experience a social life of security, of equality for one another, and our desire to be responsible to one another. Let us put any prejudices or demeaning of one another aside as we strive to have a more perfect city, a more perfect union, and a city in which to dwell so that we can achieve a meaningful and satisfactory life. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Amen. The next item is additions, deletions, amendments, or changes to the agenda. Are there any? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 3A, approval of the regular session minutes dated February 15th, 2021. I have one change. It's on packet page 7, line 86. Believe there it says that I said but Georgia, and it should read actually and Georgia's citizens. So just that change on my end. Anyone else?
Yes, Mayor, I think I have one change on packet page, excuse me, on packet page 29, line 355. Ms. Starkey said that with the Kaiser piece, the leverage that we have in the marketplace, the size of the NFP is 65,000 corporate compliance. That doesn't make any sense. What I was trying to get an answer to was, how many employees do you have under your care? What's the size that you can work with? And I'm guessing that it should say something like that. That's 65,000 maybe clients or participants, or I don't know, but that sense just doesn't read right.
Can we go back in the recording and figure that out, Ms. Moore?
Well, we already tried once.
Okay.
I had brought it up beforehand and it came back unchanged. So unless Shavela missed it, I don't know whether we're going to get any sense out of that.
I'll double check the recording.
I'm sorry?
I'll double check the recording and get back with you guys on that one.
Okay, but that's the only change I had then.
All right.
Also, Shavela, on packet page 14,
Mhm.
line 403, it said Sophia and Althea went through the list, and the list was over 1,100 people, and it has $1,000.
All right. Any other edits? Is there a motion?
So moved to approve.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that was unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 3B is the workshop session minutes from February 15th. Any changes on those?
I don't have any changes.
Nothing.
All right. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to
So
approve.
moved.
Thank you, Councilman
Second.
Allen. Second by Councilman Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous as well. Item 4A is proclamations, resolutions, plaques, and announcements. It's a presentation of a proclamation designating March 2021 as American Red Cross Month in the city of College Park in recognition of their 140th service anniversary and their services and support to the community. So let me go ahead and read this off. Whereas March is American Red Cross Month, a special time to honor the kindness of our neighbors who aid families in need every day in Fulton County, across the United States and around the world. Their dedication touches millions of lives each year as they carry out the organization's 140-year mission of preventing and alleviating suffering. And whereas during the trying times of the coronavirus pandemic, people have stepped up to help others in need, whether it was responding to this year's record-breaking disasters across the country or rolling up their sleeves to give blood when our country faced a severe blood shortage. And whereas in Fulton County, local families have relied on Greater Atlanta Red Cross volunteers for comfort and hope while coping with home fires, the critical need for blood donations, and other emergency needs. Last year, Greater Atlanta volunteers in Fulton County alone assisted 1,294 residents after home fires with urgent needs like food, lodging, and recovery support, more than any other county in Georgia. They also deployed to disasters such as the tornadoes in Georgia in the spring of 2020 and other disasters across our nation. And whereas the American Red Cross, with 676 volunteers in Fulton County, has supported local families in other ways too. Last year in Fulton County, the Red Cross performed 1,740 acts of assistance to our members of the military and their families and conducted 6,260 training sessions in first aid, CPR, and other life-giving skills. All hospitals in Fulton County administer blood collected by the Red Cross, and Fulton County residents made 52,938 blood donations through the Red Cross. And whereas this life-saving work is vital to strengthening our community's resilience, Nearly 200 years since the birth of American Red Cross founder Clara Barton, we dedicate this month of March to all those who continue to advance her noble legacy, and we ask others to join in their commitment to care for people in need. And now, therefore, it be proclaimed that the Mayor and City Council of the City of College Park, Georgia, hereby proclaim March 2021 as American Red Cross Month. So, do we have a Red Cross representative here with us tonight?
I don't think so, Mayor.
All right. Well, judging by the silence, but I know that the Red Cross was instrumental in helping victims of a fire that occurred about 6 weeks ago on Harvard. And so we know the impact of the organization right here in our community. We are deeply grateful to all the effort that they go through to make sure that our community is safer and better all around. Did anyone else have anything to add?
Mayor, I would just like to say, this Chief Elmore, I would just like to say, thank the American Red Cross we've partnered with them. The City of College Park has partnered with them over the last 10, 15 years. And they have been very instrumental in helping the citizens, helping our department. They provide us with free smoke detectors to install in all single family homes, I would say over the last 10 years. So I just want to thank them for all that they do for the community.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chief.
I'd like to say that I've had a long history with the American Red Cross. In fact, I went through their swimming program and taught life saving and taught swimming as part of the Red Cross program. So they do a lot of good work, and they've been doing it for a lot of years.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to go ahead and move forward. Item number 5, remarks of citizens. Ms. Moore.
Yes, the first remark is from Coco Bright, and it reads, Ms. Moore, my name is Coco Bright, 2623 Brandon Road. This inquiry is directed to Councilman Gay. I am deeply concerned about the aging trees and limbs hanging over Herschel Road. We experienced an outage due to a fallen tree several months ago that had most of Ward 4 without power. We have many cars going and coming from Herschel to Camp Creek. I would hate to hear that one of the trees and or limbs have fallen on a car, serious injury happened. Please take immediate action to trim or take down any and all trees over Herschel Road. Thank you. Okay. And the next comment is from Demetrius Taylor. And it reads, greetings and salutations, Mayor and Council. I am Demetrius D. Taylor, and I am a 13-year resident at the Embarcadero Club Apartments located in Ward 2 at 2210 Sullivan Road. I want to put this on record as I am very upset and still have not been able to effectively process my altercation with the College Park Police Department on Sunday, February 14, 2021 at approximately 0830 hours. First, let me empathetically state that I hold CPPD in the utmost reverence as they have served our community well, and based on the statistics provided to us by Deputy Chief during the CPPD community forums, we have one of the best police departments in the country. Having said that, I know we have room for improvements. The problem is I don't know how to adequately accomplish that. My incident that I was abruptly awakened by a loud banging on my door. I had just gotten home from work and was completely startled. Thankfully, I am not a gun owner because the way they knocked, I would have gone to the door to address the issue. When I opened the door, there were about 7 police officers there with Officer Wilson stating they were there to issue an arrest warrant. I'm a Black man, 6'4", 365 pounds. This would have gone awry very quickly if I had been slightly aggressive with my words or if I had shown any kind of agitation. After we had gone through about 3 minutes of questions about how long I've lived at my residence, and if I was alone in my home, I had invited them to search to prove I was alone. After I let them in, I was told they were looking for Mickey Carter. I informed them that she was my cousin. She had a Decatur address and that she had passed on January 18, 2021. I was then told, I'm sorry for your inconvenience. Because that did not sit with me, I had contacted CPPD and spoke with the on-duty lieutenant at the time. I believe his name was Johnson. And after explaining my story, I was told that the police are not giving any updates in their system when a person dies, nor did they have her corrected address because she had used mine the last time she was arrested, of which I knew nothing about. Then he said, well, now you know that they won't be coming back out to your home. As I've stated before, I commend the officers and I was not upset with them entirely because they were following orders. My anger is with the system. We keep hearing across the country that police officers need more trainings, but what does that consist of? Why didn't the detectives or those who issued the warrant conduct any due diligence to ensure their information was accurate? We have entirely too many incidents where police have shown up at the wrong house because of insufficient or incorrect intel, and we all have seen the horrible press from the aftermath of Miss Catherine Johnston and Breonna Taylor being amongst those casualties. It is my contention that we look into matters and ways of bringing about training, and that is time for that. Okay, the next comment is a virtual comment, and it's from Amy Burink. So Mr. Hicks, if you see Amy, you can
Yes.
let her in.
Okay, Amy, you can unmute. You're allowed to talk.
Hi, thank you. So thank you, all the city employees, councilmen, and Madam Mayor for letting me come and talk. And I don't know that this is the right place to bring it up, but I know that previously there was some talk about lowering the speed limit on Herschel Drive, and that has been done. So we've noticed that. And I have a young daughter who just got her driver's license. So she's 16. So we're really careful about following all of the street laws and everything like that. And just the last couple of mornings that we've been driving to school has really kind of been concerning because the signs are there. So you see the 25-mile-an-hour signs. And then we're actually on the way to Fayetteville. So we take Herschel all the way down to get on Old National. And so I see the 25-mile-an-hour signs going south. One thing I wanted to mention is when you're coming north, there's a sign that will read your speed. That one still says 35. And then like probably 20, 30 feet, there's like another sign that says 25. I mean, she knows it's 25. This morning is why I didn't know where to send it best. And Councilman Clay is always great about responding to my messages. So if I didn't know the council meeting was tonight, I would have just written to him because I knew he would bring my concern to light. But we were driving this morning, a car just like comes speeding up behind her, like super, super fast. And she's like, I hope that car stops. It's going to like run me over. Right. And I'm like, just don't let somebody cause you to speed up like that. There's double yellow lines. This car just like blows around her. And we all know those curves and the hills on Herschel. And so my concern is that, you know, we've got these young drivers out there on the road. I would want that speed limit at 25 as well, because people go 60 miles an hour down there. So I understand changing it to that. I guess my question is there any way we can, for the time being, like get some extra patrols out there in the early mornings when people are going those school routes or anything like that? And I did notice that there are those speed bumps right before you get to Old National, and that is definitely going to cause people to slow down, but maybe there's an opportunity to put some more of those throughout. So that was just my comment. So
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next comment is from Stanley Muhammad, and he requested to speak virtually as well. And he also has three additional 6 minutes. Ruth Muhammad and Bashir Muhammad requested to have him speak and yield their minutes to him, I'm sorry. So he has 9 minutes total.
Okay, Mr. Muhammad, you're unmuted.
In the name of God, the beneficent, the merciful, greeting mayor and council, I want to share with you that the Honorable Ms. Ruth Farrakhan delivered a historical message on July 4th, 2020. And he encouraged the whole world not to take the COVID experimental vaccination. It is a means of population control to depopulate the people, particularly Black people and darker people of the planet. And I remind you about the Tuskegee experiment, how they gave our brothers syphilis in the name of vaccination. I remind you of the polio vaccination where Black people had no cancer. But in the polio vaccination, it had SV40, which was pure cancer. And the most honorable Elijah Muhammad back in the 60s warned us not to take the polio vaccination. I must warn you as well that the MMR vaccination that's causing high rates of autism in Blacks and Latinos. Now here we are, you as a mayor and council promoting an experimental vaccination, which had proven already that many people who have taken it have severe health problems and even death. So the Honorable Minister Farrakhan told us that the COVID-19 is a pestilence from heaven, punishing us for our iniquity on earth. No scholarship from hell can actually cure a pestilence from heaven. We're going to have to repent from our evil and indecency. And if you're so concerned, Mayor and Council, about the people during this pandemic, why on the June 15, 2020 City Council did you violate OCGA 101393.4 pricing practices during the state of emergency? The Governor Kemp had a state of emergency, that it is unlawful for you to go up on the prices of essential items during a vaccination or services such as electricity, sanitation, and water. You tax the people, including myself, $6.4 million during a pandemic. Where's the compassion of that? During a state of emergency, which is unlawful. I say, the Red Cross gives out blood. Do you know it was 10,000 bags of blood in New York that was contaminated with HIV that was given to our people? Do you know it was the HIV given to our people in the Congo and Africa in the name of getting the smallpox vaccination? Do you know the very people who you are trusting have given the Native Americans blankets with smallpox? Don't you trust them with their wicked history towards us? And I close and let you know that me, as one who has been standing for our people in College Park, I had an ethics complaint, and you all unlawfully changed the ethics ordinance from a just board to one person who is a hearing officer who you hired to decide if you as a mayor and council are unethical. But him who pays a piper calls a tune. If you give them 30 pieces of silver, yeah, they'll betray us. And it's interesting you chose, when I had an ethics complaint, a very law firm, Nelson and Mullins, that I have a lawsuit against, who they have actually injured my daughter who is handicapped and disabled. And I brought that to your attention, but you said, let's proceed. Evil. And so you don't care about justice and equity. You have one person deciding. We know the outcome, but we'll see if you prevail with this iniquity. So I close and say this to you, Mayor and Council. Don't you ever forget, there's a God that sits up high and looks down low. You so concerned about what white people think. You as Black people on that, Mayor and Council, remember where you come from. Councilman Ambrose and Councilman Allen is not my people. They don't care about Black people. The chief of police don't care about Black people. When are you gonna have a love for your own people, my brothers and sisters? So Mayor, Councilman Taylor, Councilman Gay, don't trust them people with that wicked vaccination. Close the GICC. Don't you ask our people to volunteer for that death. Wake up. I'm not your enemy. I want to see you do right. Let's sit down. There's a way. We have the Nation of Islam, we have therapies. Go to NOI.org and we can show you a holistic way that we can beat the pandemic. Teach our people healthy living. These pre-existing conditions are a major problem. So I say with 2 Chronicles 7 and 14, the solution, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then God will hear from heaven and heal our land and forgive us of our sins. The real healing, you got to humble yourself. Don't let these titles make you think you are what you're not. Humble yourselves. The people are the one who you work for, like people like me. You don't dictate to us. We are the ones who you're supposed to represent. We don't want that vaccination. Over 78% of Black people say they don't believe in the vaccination. 85% of this Black. So who you working for? You ain't working for Black people, because most of us don't want the vaccination. You're working for white people. You're working for white interests. Come off the plantation. Stop playing plantation politics and turn from those wicked ways. And then God will hear from heaven and forgive our sins and heal College Park from COVID-19 and all these social injustices and a slave mentality and a slave master mentality. Thank you as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you all.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
We had no others to sign in.
Does anyone wish to speak for 1 minute on, if they haven't signed up already? Mr. Hicks, let me know if you see anyone.
No, Madam Mayor, I do not.
All right, we'll give it a couple more minutes.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I received a text message from Ms. McKenzie. She's trying to get in. She couldn't find the link. I sent her a link. If you can see her, Michael.
Okay, no, I don't see Ms. McKenzie. I see 3 other attendees and Ms. McKenzie's not one of them.
All right, we'll give her
They
another
would like to
moment.
speak. Could you ask them to raise their hand so we can acknowledge them, whoever they are?
No one as yet, Madam Mayor.
All right, I think we need to go ahead and move forward if there are no other folks who wish to speak. All right, item 6A, COVID-19 update. Dr. Baker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I apologize, I'm having some technical challenges with my computer, but I wanted to share with you guys an update from our the information that's in your packet. Our COVID-19 update as of today, we have 2 positives and we have 14 employees who have been exposed for a total of 16 cases at this present time. That's all I have.
Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Baker? All right, hearing none, thank you, sir. We'll move on to item 6B, update on the AMI billing interface and other related software. This is just a preview of the Hugh Richardson show that's going to be happening a little bit later. As Mr. Richardson, you will be taking about half of the second half of this agenda. But good to see you this evening.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is our monthly update on the advanced meter system. And as usual, we start off with our access point performance, which controls our electric meters and continues to do well, even during the cold weather and the bad weather. So we will leave it at that and hope it continues to do so. Next page shows us some of the things we're doing, try to keep our system running at 100%. And typically what we're doing with the water meter endpoints is we've been either resetting, repairing, or replacing the endpoints. But going forward, we're just going to do replacements with the new units, as GE has finally agreed to send us all new replacement endpoints, which would be the new technology This is the existing endpoint here. We'll be replacing it with this endpoint here. We already have 167 of these endpoints out there, and they are performing well. So in the next few months, they will send us lots of 250 endpoints at a time, and our meter crew will be doing the replacements, including in that will be the splice kits and everything to make sure it's done right. So we'll keep you an update of that as we progress with that. And then the last page, yeah.
I'm sorry, are we being charged for those new endpoints?
No cost. And I think they're doing it because, 3G is going to go away. And the old system, the old endpoints use 3G only. So they want to keep our performance at 98% or better.
Good work.
Yep. Last page, of course, shows some of our other updates. We continue to contact customers about water leaks. And then we have a full 12 months kilowatt hour sales difference from the pandemic compared to the previous year's same month. And the last 3 months have been positive. And that's probably mainly due because of the more extremely cold weather we've had. So we hope this continues. Our data center continues to grow. And we'll be talking about them a little bit. They're at now 12.5 megawatts. So far so good on the continuation of the kilowatt hour sales.
I have a couple of questions, just a couple of real quick questions.
All right, Councilman Allen, the floor is yours.
You said 7 water meters were replaced, and then you go on and you say 7 customers have been contacted about water leaks. My question is, were those anywhere, the 7 water meters, were they in the same area of the city or were they in different areas? Do you have any idea?
I think they were all unrelated.
Same question with the water leaks. Were they in different parts of the city or one particular area?
They were unrelated. I think everybody has a water leak eventually, and we're just trying to catch as many as we can, but they were unrelated.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Richardson?
I'm just so pleased that everything is getting to where we many years ago envisioned it would be. I do have a question. Do you have any idea how we're faring compared to others who have installed the system?
Yeah, I try to get information when I attend the Smart Utility Summit, which the last one was virtual. I try to ask how your system performing. And I think we are exceeding what we thought we would get the system running. So I've seen anywhere from 85 to 99%. So I think we're doing better than most utilities I've talked to.
Great.
All right. We'll move forward. Item 6C, discussion and update on top 10 delinquent property taxpayers. Are there any questions for Ms. Fleur Bradley?
I got mine answered.
Anyone else have any other questions?
No, thank you.
All right, we'll move on to 6D, which is the same discussion on utility customers. Any questions there? All right. Item 6E is a College Park Utility Assistance Grant Program update. And I do want to take the opportunity to share with folks, because I got some feedback that people thought we skipped over it because we didn't have any questions about it at our last meeting. And so, Ms. Fleur Bradley, if you could just sort of give a brief overview. You don't have to reread the memo that's included with our packet, but just where things are at this point and what applicants can expect.
My apologies. I had a hard time finding the unmute button, but with the utility assistance grant, we currently are taking applications from citizens that have been disconnected. We still have a number of applications that we need to go through. To date, we have awarded at least $125,000. and utility debt assistance. And right now we have 2 individuals that are working to get through those applications, but the ones that are disconnected, we normally give them a 2-week window to get the documents into us in order for us to determine whether or not they're eligible and we reconnect their service at the time that they take in the application. We leave them on for about 2 weeks until they return the application. And that gives them time to gather all their documents and bring back to the office. And then that way we apply the grant award to their account. So we're not taking in any new applications because we still have a number that we have to go through, but just for those that are disconnected, we do allow them to submit an application at that time. Funds are still available. We think we have enough applicants to fulfill the $500 award, but that's where we are at this time.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Fleur Bradley?
Ms. Bradley, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I had 3 residents who have called me whose power was they got a cutoff notice, and 2 of them went to the utility window. One turned around because of the line. The other one did not get clear information. At least they couldn't determine the status of it. So I have 2 questions. One is, since we have an additional person to help us apply for it, not to take any new applications is based on what? And the second question is there anything we can do to better inform the citizens on the grant process?
Yes. Let me answer your first question. The reason we're not taking any new applications in is because we're not receiving any phone calls, returns from the applicants. It's the reason we initially stopped because we had enough applicants to fulfill the $500,000 threshold. So we did not want to take in any more. And then we had to get through those applications that were submitted earlier in order to determine whether or not they were eligible. So we decided, and we were having issues with the applicants turning in the proper documentations. We were calling 3-4 times before we can get the information we needed. So that was slowing down the process. So when we start focusing on those that were actually disconnected, we got their documents quicker. And when we would call, they would basically they would come in and supply everything they need because they knew within 2 weeks that 2-week window that they would their service would be disconnected again. So it was a much quicker process for us when they needed their services on. So some customers, they don't move until we actually disconnect them. Then we get those documents quicker. So it was slowing down the process because we had to continually call these customers, and basically we got backlogged. With us moving like this, is moving a lot quicker, and a lot more people are getting. We're awarding the grant to a lot more people because we're getting our documents because we have to verify the income. We have to verify that they live there. Their license has to be within the city of College Park. So we're having a lot of those issues. And we have a lot of customers that aren't qualified and they submit. We've had over probably 100 applicants that were outside of the city of College Park or outside of Fulton County and we had to go through those applications, and we had to send them emails when they were denied. So that slowed down the process. That's one reason that's another reason we stopped taking application. But the 3 individuals you emailed me about, they can contact the grants administrator. We do have an email address on the website. I can provide you with that information, and they can call her directly. So she's picking up the line, and if she gets an email from them, she will respond. And if she gets the phone call and they leave a message, we do return calls within 48 hours.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anyone have any other questions?
Yes, I have a question, Mayor.
Councilman Clay, go ahead.
Althea, it sounds to me like you need the right incentive. And what I think you just said was, well, if their power has been cut off and they come in and get it turned on, and it's only going to be on for a couple of weeks if they don't get their application in, that is certainly an incentive. What about people that they apply, you get no cooperation from them, no response, no nothing? Maybe it's not as much as their power may not be, they may not be in trouble to the point where they're going to be cut off, but maybe it's worthwhile sending a note back and say, look, you've got so many days to get response to me, or your application will be dropped. Because what worries me is I'm not out to penalize the people that are having difficulty or what have you. Where I am is I'm worried that we're going to be leaving money on the table, which both benefits our residents and benefits us as a city. And I'm worried that we're going to run out of time before we run out of money. And we need to do something to motivate people to, hey, if you're going to cooperate, great. If you're not going to cooperate, it's not going to work out, because it's not just our decision to verify these people. These have to be verified further up the chain with the government. So this isn't our doing, and not that it's a bad idea to do all the verification. So I'm saying that we need to make slots available for new applications if the people that have already applied aren't really serious and aren't really going to pursue it. I'm just throwing that out. I don't know.
I got a question as well. You said that Fulton County, the expiration of the contract for Fulton County expired December of 2021. And then you said, however, they're requesting the grants be exhausted within 90 days.
Yes, I wasn't on that phone call. I was out at that time. Jackson, can you elaborate? You were on that phone call, were you?
Yeah. Yes, I'm here. I was on a phone call that, of course, it goes to, like you said, December of 2021. They're trying to put, Fulton County's trying to push us to get those applications paid as soon as possible and get them back in. But we still have time. I talked to Kim today. We're still got time to move forward with our granting process, and also are requesting the refunds.
So the 90 days, it can go beyond the 90 days.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, Jackson, I was under the impression that the 90 days was 90 days back from the end of the year, so that would give them time to process any applications that came in on the very last day, for example, because they have to go through and analyze them as well.
Are you talking about Fulton County?
Yes, sir.
No. No, they're not.
That was my understanding. My understanding was the opposite, that it gave us 90 days into 22.
Oh, okay.
Which one's correct?
I don't know about, I can't answer the 90 days into 2022. I just know that we have till end of 2021, according to the contract.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, we really ought to be absolutely sure on that.
It's in the contract. The contract states December 31st, 2020. I did send you a page from the contract.
So we operate with that. And if there's anything additional, any information you find out, you report back on the 15th. Does that work?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct.
Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
All right, great. Any other questions about the Utility Assistance Grant Program? Hearing none, we'll move to item 6F, consideration of
Councilman Gay, can you send me the 3 individuals information so we can contact them, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item 6F, consideration of an action on a request for approval from the Resurrection House for All Nations to conduct an Easter parade / motorcade through downtown College Park via Main Street. The event is scheduled for Sunday, April 4th, 2021, and will pass through College Park at approximately 1:00 p.m.
I move to approve, Mayor. We've done this for the last several years, and I think they seem to have all the information here. I think it's a no-brainer.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. We'll move on to item 7A, public hearing to consider a text amendment to the farm animal regulations. All right. So, Ms. Alexander?
Actually, it's
It will
going to
be
be,
Nikki.
excuse me, I'm sorry. It's
Oh,
actually
Nikki
going to be
wants
Nikki
to-
Washington presenting.
Okay. All right. Wait, there's a lot of people talking. There's a lot of people talking. I called on Ms. Alexander. If she wants to hand it off to someone else, so be it.
Yes, that's correct. Nikki Washington will be presenting tonight.
Okay. All right, Ms. Washington.
All right. Hello, Mayor and Council. Thank you for taking the time to consider this item. This came up as a result of some code enforcement issues that we've had with this and a lot of inquiries from citizens in the city asking about what our regulations are specifically concerning chickens. However, we took a look at all the farm animal regulations, just figured it'd be good to make sure everything is correct. So the big changes that this is presenting are one, right now the code requires that a chicken coop or similar animal pen requires it be 75 feet from any residence. That would be the owner's residence as well as any neighboring residence. I went ahead and looked at a couple different codes in the surrounding area, and that seemed a little large. So this new ordinance that we're proposing will require 50 feet from any neighboring residence and then 15 from the owner's residence. And how we came to that was looking at other codes and then also looking at College Park's smallest residential district, which is the R3 district. We do require that any chicken coop, pen, rabbit enclosure is in the rear yard. So they're not permitted in any side yards. And the rear setback in R3 is 25 feet. So if we require it to be 15 feet from the owner's residence, that gives them a little wiggle room there to be able to meet the code, keep it 5 feet from their property lines, and also 15 feet from their own house. So that's how we got there. We're also going to require fencing in addition to the coop. So that'll be of about 6 feet. Well, has to be 6 feet. Can be larger in the backyard. Be allowed to 8 feet in the rear yard. Has to be at least 6 if you're going to have chickens. And then I did have a discrepancy that Councilman Clay brought to my attention as far as the number of chickens that would be permitted. Right now we have, it says 2 separate things. One of them is by square footage, which allows for 10 chickens in a typical R3 lot, which would be, it's 800 square feet per chicken. So our smallest lot size is 8,000 square feet. That would allow for you to have 10 chickens. Then there's another point in the code where it does it by the square footage of the coop. It says you can only have a max of 32 square feet, which would only allow for 6 chickens. So I'd like a little guidance there on if we think it would be better to just do a blanket statement, say in residential districts, max amount of chickens is 6 to 10. That would also end up applying to what we consider similar animals, which would be ducks or rabbits are the other ones we list. And that's actually the last thing is, I would like to change it to any animals not listed are prohibited. So right now we have listed chickens, ducks, rabbits. I think that pretty much covers it. There is a option to apply for a variance from this section. So if somebody does have another type of animal that they want to keep, they can go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and if they feel that's appropriate, allow for it. But otherwise, I think prohibiting anything not listed would be best. And those are the major changes. Other than that, we're just condensing everything into the one section. You'll see that in the code ordinance. We're kind of taking stuff out of chapter 4, making sure it's all in the zoning ordinance together. And that's just for ease of viewing, making sure it's all in one place. And that's it.
All right. So from the body, any questions, comments?
I have one question. Oh,
Okay, Councilman Allen.
Just, you mentioned that the fencing should be 6 foot. What if somebody has a fence that's lower than that? Are they going to be grandfathered in, or do they have to replace their whole fence and make it 6 foot?
Well, we will grandfather them in
Okay.
before this provision, unless it becomes an issue. If their chickens are leaving, if it's only a 4-foot fence and somehow they're getting over that 4-foot fence, then we'll have to consider requiring them to increase it, of course, if it becomes an issue. But otherwise, we'll allow it to continue. Same thing with the setbacks. So won't make people move their chicken coops unless, again, there's some sort of issue that would require them to.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Councilman Clay.
Yeah, I have several. First off, I think this is on the agenda as a public hearing.
It is.
In the past, as I recall, we've always set a public hearing. We've had the report from the Planning Commission. We look at what they've said. We set the public hearing. Oftentimes we don't discuss the whole report, or maybe we'll just touch on it. And then, I don't know, 30 days later or what have you, we actually have the public hearing. So my first question is, why are we changing? I sent a list of questions, and the answer was, well, we don't really have to do it that way. But we don't have to set the public hearing when it's come from Planning Commission. I don't know whether that's correct or not. I leave that up to Winston if I could find him on the screen. But anyhow, so even if it's true that we don't have to set a public hearing, it would give the populace a lot more time to actually decide, hey, or do we want chickens, or do we want 10 chickens, or what have you? And this is just an example. The same thing is true with the next item on the agenda. So this is intended to be a public hearing as it's billed on the agenda. I think it should be to set a public hearing in the interest of being totally transparent and giving people time to actually evaluate what's being proposed. So at least they get 2 shots at it. They see it pop up on the agenda, and if they're paying attention, even though we have a requirement to advertise it and everything else, I think that's one thing. That's just a general comment. The next comment has to do with chickens. Now, I'm a city boy. My wife grew up on a farm. She has a gazillion siblings. We had a family meeting on Sunday, and I said, well, what's your opinion about having 10 chickens in a coop or in a yard within a few feet of your lot line? And I guess some of the comments were, well, they smell better than pigs. The other comment was, actually, the noise is worse than the odor. Now, what I'm not sure is whether they were thinking roosters, because we're not allowing roosters here. And I've had complaints, believe it or not, I've had complaints over the last several years about roosters crowing. But I think we're talking about chickens. And we are talking about chickens, right, Nikki? That
Yes,
roosters
correct.
are not part of this.
Hens as opposed to chickens. I mean, hens as opposed to roosters.
Yeah,
Correct.
they make
Roosters
eggs.
Right. Yeah. Roosters would only be permitted if you have it at least 2 acres. So you'd have to have,
right.
and they have to be 100 feet from your lot line.
So one of the problems I had, you had a diagram in here, which you explained, but I want to explain it to council. on packet page 75, you see a drawing with the two lots next to one another, and how a chicken coop in the far corner of the lot on the right is far enough away from the lot next door on the left, and it's also far enough away from the house that it is behind, because that distance is only 15 feet. But now if you draw another lot in next to it and center that house in the center of the lot, there is no way that that chicken coop is going to be the required distance from the house next door. So that's an issue, because we've moved toward higher density. We're talking a lot about R3 properties. I think this is an R3 property, if I remember rightly here. And what that says is, well, maybe you can have one chicken coop, but you can't have it anybody next door to it. You'd have to have a vacant lot next door to it.
Councilman,
Well,
can oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Mayor.
Well, I was trying to get some clarification on that point. So you're saying that if there were, and we're still looking at package page 75, if there was a third lot next, sort of the coop is sandwiched in between two lots that have homes that are similarly placed, you're saying that there's no way it would be 50 feet away from that house? Is that?
That's what I'm assuming. I did not actually measure those distances, but I presume it's positioned on the lot on the right that is drawn. It's positioned in the far corner to give it enough distance from the house next to it. And
because it would be shifted too far to the right, putting it too close to the house next door.
Yeah, if it were centered in the middle of the lot, I wouldn't have a problem. Now, maybe I didn't do the measurements, but maybe it could have been centered in the middle of the lot and it would have still been okay. Don't know that, but I'm assuming it was drawn this way to show that it was okay. Well, it's not going to be okay from a house on the lot to the right of it. Also, we're reducing the distance. The current distance is 75 feet. And I had a house with chickens about a block and a half away, and they would come wandering up the street sometimes. So I don't have anything against chickens, but I do have something against a larger number of chickens. I'm not talking about one or two hens, but a larger number of chickens in a coop that could be close to your lot line. Let's say you go out in the back and you build a nice barbecue back in the 2/3 of the way back through your backyard on an R3 property. And your neighbor next door legitimately puts a chicken coop up. Well, when the wind is blowing in the right direction, I'm not sure you'll be wanting to entertain at your barbecue. I just have a lot of concerns about this. And I think it would be good to get some more input. I've already gotten some input to my email that I put out before council meetings. Already I've gotten some input saying, do we really want chickens? And I'm not opposed to chickens. I think in some ways it's a good thing to have that ability for people if they want to have some homegrown eggs and what have you, that's fine. But to have a large number that close to the property line, creating potentially odors, and you can say, well, if they take care of it and clean it frequently, then you probably won't have an odor from it. Well, but how do you enforce that? This becomes another enforcement issue. So I have a lot of concerns. I could not vote to approve this. If we actually were voting to approve this tonight, I couldn't vote to approve this with this many concerns. I'm only one vote, so people may decide to do it, but that's where I am.
Well, with the smell, you could have a person next to you in a house next to you having 2 or 3 of his buddies over there all smoking cigars, and that would bother you. I don't know how you regulate that part of the smell. So I don't have a problem with it, because you got, I guess I like chickens. I don't know.
All right. Any other questions or any other comments from the council? All right, hearing none, this is set for a public hearing. I'll declare the public hearing open at this time. Ms. Moore, can you let folks know how they can get onto this to comment on this particular issue?
Sure, they can go to www.collegeparkga.com, click on the green banner and go down to government, then click on council meetings. And on that main page, there's a link to join the public hearing. Once you're in the public hearing, raise your hand to be acknowledged and someone will let you speak.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
I see that we have one hand raised. Ms. Blackstone.
Unmute. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can. You just muted yourself again.
I didn't even touch it. It did it.
Oh.
I apologize.
Okay, we can hear you now. Go right ahead.
Please do not approve this as it's written. You're looking at R3, which is, it involves the older houses a lot, like up here on Walker. My frontage is only about 40 feet. And that's the way it is. The house was built 93 years ago. I can't compare smoking cigars with chicken poop. And I was raised around an aunt that did raise chickens. It's a quality of life issue. We're a residential area. We're not a farm area. And this is about farm animals. And if you have an acre or two, that's fine. But in my neighborhood, it just wouldn't work. Now, we're also talking that there is a variance included. So say somebody doesn't have 50 feet, but they've got 47, they go, and unless somebody's really on the ball, they could go and get that thing approved. It's just a matter of, leave us alone if it's okay. And if it's not, fix it. This is not needing a fix. We have people that have a few chickens, but they don't have 10. And I have not heard of anybody complaining. I understand fresh eggs, but it's very unfair for those of us who are old and stuck and won't be moving. And I very much ask that you not allow the footage to drop down to 50. I just really hope so. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? All right, I'll give it a couple more moments here. All right, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Clay, I share your concerns about the typical way that we handle public hearings and the deviation for these particular issues this evening. I think we have an opportunity for consistency and transparency's sake to do it the same way if we can. So I would.
Will do, Mayor.
Okay. But given that, considering that usually we have a vote to have a public hearing at a subsequent date, I'm not sure how we cure that this evening.
Well, Mayor, what we have done on occasion before is just to extend the public hearing to the next meeting. Okay. So if you'd like, I will make a motion that we extend the public hearing on this item, and if it makes sense, the next item as well, but
Mhm.
on this item, to the next council meeting. And that will give people a time to respond, because we only had one respondent from the audience, apparently.
Mhm.
And that may be because everybody loves chickens, or just maybe that people weren't aware. So
I'll
that's my
second
motion.
that. I'll second that motion.
All right. All those in favor to extend the public hearing to the March 15th meeting?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. I think that is unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen.
May,
Yes, Ms.
may I
Washington.
make just a quick comment?
Yes.
I just want to point out that the 10 chickens thing, that is as the code stands now. People can have up to 10 chickens. So, just if we wanted to change, that would have to be a
Well,
change.
maybe we want to change it to 6, which was another computation that you did in there, that it could have been 6 or it could have been 10. You can change it either way.
Well, let's keep on working at that and see what makes sense and get feedback from our community.
And that'll give Nikki a time to come back with a more finished product. She can map at some of these things that were brought up that were inconsistent. She can certainly fix those, and we can have that on the agenda.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Item 7B is a public hearing to consider a text amendment to add tire and rim shops to the prohibited uses list. Is this, Ms. Washington, is this you as well?
Yes, it is. So this is also an issue that's come up a few times from the Building and Inspections Department and also from code enforcement. And these tire and rim shops are separate from what we consider minor auto repair. And they are sometimes just retail auto uses, but they're still doing changing tires or changing rims in open parking lots, which is is something we want to avoid. So this is adding those specific shops to the prohibited uses list. We still will allow for the changing of tires and the selling of rims under the minor auto repair category, but that will require them to also provide other auto repair services, oil changes, windshield wipers, that sort of thing. And how we'll designate that is through their business sales. So through sales, if they are more than 50% of their sales are only from tires or rims, that'll be considered a tire and rim shop.
All right. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Ms. Washington?
Well, I have a couple things in mind. The first one, of course, is to be consistent with past practice, that we would consider extending the actual public hearing to the next meeting. And I think this makes sense. It's difficult for code enforcement to enforce as it is. I think it makes sense to add this. I had a couple questions in here, which were the retail store more than 50, I'm sorry, on packet page, if I can get my screen to work here, packet page 93, line 49, more than 50% of the sales are from selling or installing tires. How would we enforce that? I know we have a thing like that with restaurants. We have a provision like that for restaurants that sell alcohol and so forth. How do you enforce this here? Anyway,
similar to how we enforce it exactly for restaurants with 50% of their sales being from food or liquor. Very similar. So what would have to happen is it would have to be well, hopefully now just a minor auto repair shop versus a retail tire shop. But the one way we will enforce it is they'll no longer be able to be permitted in a retail space. So you'll be required to be minor auto repairs that'll require, the bay, you have to pull in, You have to have a space to change tires that's not out in the open. And the second way is if there is a complaint, we can pull those records. They'll have to show, the burden will be upon them to show that they're providing other services, that more than 50% of their sales is coming from other services that are not tires.
The one, okay, that's what I thought you would say, but it seems to me it's easier in a restaurant to say, well, it's beer, it's wine, or it's alcohol. I'm not sure how easy it is, and I'm just not knowledgeable in this area. What about lugs? What about rims? What all the different things that go to putting a tire on? Can you separate those out from other things well enough? I'm assuming you can, but I don't know. If anybody has any automotive expertise, jump in.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an automotive expert for sure, but I would say the purpose of this ordinance is tires specifically, and specifically, we also have this issue with people dumping tires in the city, throughout the city, right? So I think specifically tire sales, so just straight up, are you buying 4 tires? You're buying 1 tire? That sort of thing, those specific kinds of shops. We do want to allow for minor auto repair, of course, but I think this is a very specific kind of shop that we're looking at here.
Okay, it sounds like it's easier to make a decision on this one than the other one, but in the interest of consistency and fairness, I think that we should consider whether we want to extend this to the next one. That should be our practice all the time. I don't know why we would deviate from that. And I agree with what the mayor said about transparency and visibility. So, okay.
Sure. Yeah, that's my fault, Councilman Clay. I think previously, at the end of our previous city manager's time, we had received direction that we were not doing that, and we haven't had a public hearing in a while. So that's my fault. I did not ask.
It's okay. No big deal. We just corrected.
So
that's all right.
We'll make sure we do that from now on.
I do think we need to have a public hearing. I need to open it and close it since it is on the agenda, but we can carry it over to the next meeting. So does anyone else have any questions or comments for Ms. Washington right now? All right, hearing none, I will go ahead and declare the public hearing open. And I believe that Mr. Muhammad wishes to speak on the issue of tire and rim shops.
Okay, Mr. Muhammad, if you can unmute your mic.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I basically grew up in College Park, so a lot of these tire shops that she's referring to are owned by Black people, Black businesses. And first thing I think that Councilman Clay mentioned, to make sure that we're in harmony with the Open Meetings Act. The Opens Meeting Act requires us to let the people know in advance about this public meeting, because I'm sure that those businesses, that this ordinance or this legislation that you're trying to pass, they should be informed.
Yep.
Because it's like betrayal, because if they are giving you tax dollars by the occupancy, license, business license, and all the council members who are concerned about their constituents who own businesses should let them know so they can be here to make sure that they can feed their families, because most of them tire shops not going to open up no oil bay. That's intended to close them down. I don't think that's fair. I personally have no problem with the tire shops. Now, if someone's illegally dumping tires, well, cite them. I agree with that. But don't make, if someone else is doing it from some other municipality, don't blame your own businesses who are trying to survive. We're in the COVID-19. People are going through economic hard times. I think we should be more considerate that these small businesses are suffering too. So be very careful, because what you put on other people's doorstep, it might be coming to you. So just be very careful and wise. If you have some legitimate concerns, I don't hear nothing legitimate about it, to be honest with you. There's nothing wrong with tire shops or rim shops, not unless I'm missing something, but most of them are owned by Black people. And you as Black council members, Black mayors should speak up. It's very difficult for a Black business to survive. We don't get the same benefits as white businesses. So speak up and let's stand up for those who are helping us financially as a city. These are businesses that pay taxes. At least give them a notice and let them know what you're planning. Because if you don't, it's like being Judas. Let's don't be like Judas. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I believe Ms. Blackstone wishes to speak on this issue.
Okay, here I go. You can hear me, correct? Ma'am?
Yes, ma'am, I can. Sorry, I muted myself so you could speak.
I'm
Yes.
so sorry. Thank you. I just want to thank you all for setting this back where more people can maybe read and I know Nikki was doing what she had been told before, but it's really a good idea to do it this way. And I don't see this as any of it as being a thing against Black businesses or white businesses. I really appreciate the fact that each and every one of you get up there and you don't use your ethnic background to make decisions. So I respect you all, and I really much appreciate it. I do think that setting the public hearings back the way that they were makes more sense, because Lord of mercy, I was confused and asked Ambrose, because that was kind of the way we're used to it. Anyway, thanks to every one of you. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak? Give it a couple more moments here. Ms. Blackstone, you need to mute.
I took care of that, Madam Mayor.
Okay. All right. All right. Seeing no other comments, I will go ahead and declare the public hearing closed at this time. Councilman Clay, do you have a motion?
Yes, I move to extend the public hearing to the next council meeting.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Taylor, did I hear?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. All right. That is unanimous. We will consider both of those public hearings on March 15th. Item 8A, consideration of an action on a request for approval to renew performance management software, which is Quantum Workplace. Is this Mr. Hicks who's going to be talking about this, or is this Ms. Miller?
It's me, Madam Mayor. This is just renewal of our performance management software that we use practically every day. We are beginning to use a lot of the survey modules that are in the performance management software. So that's just a renewal.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Hicks?
Yeah, I just a comment, Mayor. I think it's fundamental to what we're doing with the strategic plan and the team working together. And I'm going to move to approve.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Councilman Gay, I think you were in favor, but you were muted. All right. Thank you, sir. That is unanimous. All right. And this is the section of the agenda where Mr. Richardson gets to do some heavy lifting. Item 8B is consideration of an action on a request for approval of revisions to the power sales agreement between the City of College Park and ATL Data Centers LLC.
Mayor and Council, a few months ago, we brought your attention that the data center will be expanding up to 45 megawatts of power. But since then, they have decided that the expansion will be under another company name, which will require us to revise the existing contract. And basically, there are two parts of this revision. Section 4, paragraph 1, which lowers the expansion from 45 megawatts to 15 of the existing facilities, and Section 8, paragraph 11, which changes the deposit from a surety bond to a cash deposit with updates for every 6 months. I think we'd rather have a cash deposit anyway, starting out with $500,000. So basically, those are the only two changes in the proposed contract.
Any questions for Mr. Richardson on this issue?
I just moved to approve.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. That's unanimous. Item 8C is consideration of an action on bids received for transformers and material to be located at the ATL data center and for lighting stock.
Data center has paid us in advance for providing power to them. We're going to extend 4 circuits to serve their expansion. So they paid us $2.8 million last year, and we revised or amended our budget in January to reflect this. So this is basically material to provide that circuit expansion extension for serving them. The big ticket items, of course, are the transformers and the underground cable.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Richardson?
I move to approve with one question.
Oh, okay. All right. So Councilman Gay, I heard you say move to approve. Let's get, is there a second? I heard that part. Yes, sir. Heard that as well. So let me go ahead and get a second on that, and then I will get your question. Is there a second to Councilman Gay's?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Councilman Gay, go right ahead.
Mr. Richards, can you, well, it might be a finance question. You said that we amended our budget. How do we see that in our budget? Is it in the general fund? And how does the public see that, not thinking that it's money that we're spending?
Yeah, I think Althea may need to answer that. I don't know where the money went, but it's in the power department's budget listed on the line item.
Ms. Fleur Bradley, can you shed some light on that?
Hello?
Yes.
The question, it was in regards to the power budget and the
Yeah, how do you show the cash in from the $2.5 million? Because when I read it, it looked like we were spending it, but I wasn't aware that they had put the money in the account. How do you show that?
It was on the revenue side. I showed the revenue coming in and the expense on the capital side. That it was in the budget amendment. There was a revenue for $2.8 million.
Okay.
And that was offset by the expense.
Okay.
And we had the money in already when I amended that budget. The money had already been transferred to us.
And then my second part of my question is, when we spend that money, does that have to go out to bid or not when we buy that stuff? Or?
Yes, we bid all the material.
Yeah,
This is the majority of it. We'll be bringing back some other items probably next month.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
I thought we voted on it.
No, you made the motion and there was a second by Councilman Clay, and then we had your question. And then,
okay. All right.
And I believe that was unanimous, correct, gentlemen?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Item 8D, consideration of an action on a request for approval of a power sales agreement between the City of College Park and Clean Block, Inc.
This is the expansion contract with a company called Clean Block. So they will be using up to 30 megawatts on the property in front of the ATL data center. They will own the property, and we'll have a separate utility account set up under Clean Block. So this is basically the same contract, with the exception of the megawatts, which will be 30, and the deposit, which I think will start at $413,000.
Any questions for Mr. Richardson?
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. Any comments or any questions? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous as well. The next item is item 8E, consideration of an action on a request for approval of a joint defense and cost sharing agreement with Clean Block Inc. Mr. Richardson, the floor is yours once more.
Yeah, the Clean Block is, feel like this contract is very, very important to them, and we continue to serve them. And they just want assurance that if there's any challenge to the fact that this is a customer choice, and they have selected us to provide them power, that we will defend it. And of course, usually every utility does that. In this case, they wanted a separate agreement, and they agreed to help us pay for that cost, which we'll take. So basically, they want this agreement for assurance that we'll continue to serve them.
Any questions
So
for Mr. Richardson?
We're just being asked to do what we would normally do, right?
That's right.
At 90% of the cost.
At 90 instead of 100%.
Correct. Right. Any questions? Hearing none, are there any motions?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Councilman Clay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. That was unanimous. Item 8F, consideration of, thank you, Mr. Richardson. You did do the heavy lifting in this section of the agenda. Item 8F is consideration of an action on a request to purchase 9 flock safety license plate readers to deploy within the city. And I believe that would be Chief Williford.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Good evening. Again, we're, as it's discussed during the work session, we're looking to add 9 more license plate readers, various areas in the city, Virginia and Harrison, Main Street and Lowell in Washington, Rugby in Washington, Camp Creek Parkway westbound at 2900 Camp Creek, Herschel Road at Charlestown, Herschel Road at Old National, and 2 locations on Old National on either side of the bridge, one facing southbound, one facing northbound. The cost of these LPRs will be reimbursed under the Department of Justice Burn Grant. We'll pay for them up front and we'll be reimbursed. We're all at about $500.
Chief Willis, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Currently, do we have flock camera? I remember several months back, you wanted flock cameras near the school crossing. I think you put some by College Park Elementary. The flock cameras, are they read automatically, or there's some officer who sits and monitor the camera, or did that data automatically get uploaded?
So
the tag reader.
These
are tag reader flock cameras, correct?
Yes, sir. I think what you're talking about in the school zones was speed detection cameras.
These flock cameras run license plates automatically without.
Yes,
is it done automatically or manually?
Automatically.
And then just walk me through it. And then then you'll dispatch if there's a infraction or outstanding warrant or.
What they do is they're checking for stolen cars, stolen license plates, and wanted persons. And we get alerts automatically when one of those tag numbers hits with any of those criteria. And that's all they do. We get a photograph of the tag and of the vehicle and the location of the camera that it hit at. And if it hits another camera down the road, we're able to track it a little better.
So basically, we're identifying stolen vehicles and warrants. Is that right?
That's correct. We're identifying criminal activity. Stolen vehicles and warrants primarily.
Any other questions, Councilman Kay?
Trying to think. I'm not. I mean, I don't want any criminal activity. We want a safe community, but I'm kind of like. I mean, me personally, not real big on flock cameras because, I mean, I don't have any data to support this, but I feel like we're targeting people because can't the flock cameras be read in another jurisdiction or in another part of the city? I mean, why are we inundating in our community with so many flock cameras? And we're not prioritizing other crimes or other infractions.
Well, Councilman Gay, to be quite honest with you, the stolen vehicles are many times used to commit other crimes, robberies, burglaries, murders, those kinds of things, and many times are occupied by fugitives. We need to get them off the street. And crime is so transient, a person can rob somebody in the city of South Fulton in a stolen vehicle and go through College Park on the way to East Point, to Atlanta, or anywhere else in the metro area. Criminals are highly transient. The only way we are effective at catching them is to have the technology to help us do so. And any criminal that comes through the city is a threat to our citizens.
I don't have any more questions.
I just have one. You mentioned Virginia Avenue. There was going to be one on Virginia Avenue, and I forgot the other place you said. Is there one up near the hotels at all on Virginia Avenue?
East Point and Havel have a couple along Virginia.
Okay.
Their jurisdictions. And we are looking to put one on Virginia at Harrison coming into the city.
Okay. Good.
We'll be pointing westbound.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions for the chief?
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. Chief, can you give us a little bit of feedback on how the cameras that we currently have installed have worked? Have they helped apprehend individuals who are wanted or retrieve stolen cars?
Madam Mayor, the most egregious event occurred when Officer Landon was shot. That suspect was picked up with a flock camera hit. Our officers fell in behind the suspect, and eventually we got into a pursuit, and Officer Landon was shot during that pursuit. That resulted in the capture of his shooter, plus he'd committed a murder in Clayton County and 2 others in Florida.
Okay.
So but we're always recovering stolen vehicles off the flock cameras, and we've also got the number of wanted people as well.
Understood.
I would think the fact that we have a large number of cameras, along with East Point, along with other communities around here, overall will make the area safer, because it will make it very clear that if you come into this area, there's a higher chance that you're going to get apprehended. And if we don't get you in College Park, they'll get you in East Point. Or if they don't get you in East Point, we'll get you in College Park. So just stay clear of the whole area.
That's precisely the thought process.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Councilman Gay, you are abstaining?
Yes.
All right. Councilman Taylor, are you in favor? You are muted right now.
Yes.
Okay, so we have Councilman Allen, Councilman Taylor, Councilman Clay in favor, with Councilman Gay abstaining. So the motion passes. And can we just make sure that everybody is muting if they are not talking? All right. And item, Ms. Moore, thank you. 9A, consideration of an action on a request for approval of a resolution authorizing the 5-year lease purchase of 2 commercial refuse trucks through the Georgia Municipal Association Direct Leasing Program. I believe this would be Mr. Mason.
I can probably answer this for
Okay. All right.
Mike
Does anyone
Mason.
does anyone
Go
have
ahead.
any questions regarding this issue? I know we've
Yeah, you've already approved the lease.
yeah, we've already approved it. So does anyone have
I move to approve.
Okay. All right.
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Gay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. That's unanimous. Item 10A is consideration of an action on a request for approval of an agreement with Chick-fil-A ownership at 1065 Cleveland Avenue, allowing a freestanding kiosk on Main Street to sell limited menu items 3 days a week, Monday through Wednesday, for the hours of 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and to partner in the city-sponsored event to facilitate a marketing study.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The owner for the Chick-fil-A mentioned should be on the call as well, but I'll just give you a little background. CPMSA was approached to facilitate with this marketing study to potentially see if College Park could warrant having a freestanding Chick-fil-A in the community, which is a no-brainer since we have the headquarters here. That would be a win for the city. And so we then researched a location where we could possibly have a kiosk very similar, if not the same, to the ones that are at the College Park Arena that are utilized there. The kiosk would be stationary for the 3 days a week that were mentioned during those hours. And we decided to utilize this at the depot on Main Street, that little alcove section right at the corner of Main and Harvard. And then that way the kiosk could be put behind the building in the locked gate and left in the evening times at the expense of the owner of the business. The city would not be liable for any damages or anything of the nature. And so that's what you have before us. We're presenting this as a special event permit. We're looking to the possibility of having this event permit for 1 year at least, but to renew every 3 months. Hopefully after 3 months, we'll have enough data to show that yes, we can justify having a freestanding location here. But as I stated, we did have the contract written by the attorney to last 1 year, but in 3-month increments. And at this time, I'll entertain any questions, or Mr. Richard is also on the line if you have any questions for him.
Are there any questions for Ms. Coakley or Mr. Richard?
I have one question.
Councilman Gay, go right ahead.
Thank you, sir, for considering our city. I've been an advocate for Chick-fil-A for some time, but I do have a question. Is it possible that the study location can be expanded more than just a depot? I think Virginia Avenue is a opportunity to look at utilization. They just improved a strip mall. They got a lot invested on that end. And I don't know with the COVID, but even at some point closer down to the new hotels, in as much as you're looking at feasibility.
Well, of course, location is up entirely to you all. We definitely want to have it in a location that's going to see a lot of traffic, whether it be foot traffic or either, automotive traffic there. But definitely, that's completely up to the council as to where we can be located. We thought that, the train depot there would be a definite high visibility area that would allow us to generate, a great deal of sales and would warrant, a consideration of actually having a freestanding restaurant there in College Park.
And I believe too, the reason that we did choose the location that we did, it was because the cart is not going to be moved every day by the staff that will be manning the cart. And so at the depot, there's the ability to lock it up daily without having to really move it far. So Councilman Gay, to your point, if there were another location, we would have to make sure there's somewhere that the cart can be stored and secured for afternoons or the times when it's not in use.
Any other questions,
Renee, I
okay.
thought
All right,
one of the
Councilman Clay, the floor is yours.
Oh, sorry. I thought one of the reasons for having it there was also to hopefully pick up some of the foot traffic going to and from the MARTA station.
That is definitely correct. So one of the things that we talked about to Mr. Richard as well as the permit committee when we had our meeting, is that the hopes are to market to the MARTA station as well as to Woodward Academy and those type of venues that might foster more foot traffic. And so that was one of the main reasonings for, as well as the safety and security of the fence. But the proximity to the MARTA station was another key reason that we chose that location.
Well, I don't doubt that that's not a great location, but me being a business person and trying to bring value to this gentleman's assessment, I still, over a period of a year, if all it is to keep his cart safe and food has to be brought in, I'm still suggesting that within that year, he should look at several other locations. And I keep getting a text from one of my residents who's saying even Herschel and Riverdale is an area that could be looked at. So just FYI.
Miss Coakley, so the plan for the first 3 months is the depot, correct?
That is correct.
Will Ms. Miller, you might be able to answer this as well. Will it come back before us for that second 3 months so we can have a conversation about how things have gone at that location and whether or not there is the desire to continue the project or move it elsewhere, that sort of thing? We just have an opportunity to discuss at the 3 month mark.
Yes, we can bring it back after 3 months. I think our main concern is consistency, and this is a market study. So we have to make sure that we sell enough, no matter where we go, so that they will see the value of bringing it to College Park. But we'll bring it back in 3 months.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions? Any other comments? Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. That is unanimous. Item 10B is discussion on interpretation of several City of College Park zoning code items. And there are several. Ms. Washington, Ms. Alexander, who's got the ball for this one?
I have it, Mayor.
All right.
So these are again just a few things that have been brought to our attention over the past few months, and we're looking for basically just council's interpretation of the code in a few of these places. So if we want to run through, I think that might be easiest. Take them one by one. Hopefully everybody's had a minute to review, so there's some clarity on them. I won't bore you by reading through it. This first one is concerning truck and trailer parking in the industrial district M1. So that's our light industrial district. You can see in your packets, there's a few permitted uses that make it sound like it could be allowed. And then there's a few prohibited uses, making it sound like maybe we didn't intend to allow standalone truck and trailer parking. So what that will mean is there's no facility on site. There's not even a building on site. It's just for trailer or truck parking.
Nikki, didn't we have something come before us several months ago where somebody wanted to create a parking lot for trucks? And I think everybody on council had a lot of concern about increased truck traffic coming in, and we've had a lot of problems. I know Councilman Gay has had problems with trucks on Herschel Road and Riverdale in that area. So if we allowed this, couldn't somebody do something like that? Couldn't they buy up an old piece of industrial property and say, well, this is an industrial area and oh yeah, well, I'm just going to park trucks here. Isn't that a way of getting around what we were trying to prevent a while back?
It sounds like it to me. And I would, if that is the intent of the council, I would suggest that we clearly state, standalone truck and trailer parking is prohibited in the M1 district. If create a text amendment and go ahead and add it to that prohibited uses list.
Not only that, but that makes that property unavailable for better and higher uses, I would think. Somebody buys up the property and then they park trucks on it where we could have had a factory there or something.
What are the other, any other thoughts from the body?
We turned it, I think it was on East Main. I think they wanted to put one on East Main, and we rejected that, I want to say about a year ago. And again, I think you're increasing a lot of truck traffic, and you're going to have trucks there overnight. And again, who knows if it'll bring people in to try to break into the trucks. I don't know, just we turned it down once before. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I agree with those two gentlemen.
All right. So it seems the consensus of the body is that standalone truck parking should not be permitted in M1s.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for that. The next one I have here is we brought a text amendment to the Planning Commission concerning multi-tenant retail centers. So, we have a couple multi-tenant retail centers on Old National Highway, and just in general, multi-tenant retail centers are kind of going by the wayside as far as, we're seeing a lot of decrease in malls and that sort of thing as things move to just different retail uses. So we were looking at some different things, and the Planning Commission actually suggested creating a moratorium for multi-tenant retail centers as the city completes the comprehensive plan to try to determine what type of retail we want in the city and how we're going to pursue that. So we're just looking for direction from council if that's something that you would agree you're interested in. If so, we will work with legal to bring some more definitive reasoning for the moratorium. As you all know, there does need to be some legal backing to doing something like that. As you know, our comprehensive plan is underway right now, and we're looking at being completed with that sometime in October of this year.
So essentially, we'd be looking at when everything's said and done and legal takes a look at it, probably effectively a 6-month moratorium.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, moratoriums get kind of dicey legally after 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
And so we might be able to go a little bit beyond 90, but an entire 6-month would be very problematic legally, in my opinion.
Okay. Now, I know that we've had extensions of moratoriums in the past.
Yes, we could extend for good reasons, extend it,
Okay.
but to set it out the box at more than 90 would not be advisable.
Understood. So at the 90-day mark, we could have an opportunity to evaluate. Is that fair?
Ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Gentlemen, thoughts?
I say do a 90-day moratorium. We can't vote on it yet. We have to have the official document presented at the next meeting, but yeah.
Is this something you're interested in pursuing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But we should do it quickly for obvious reasons. If we're going to do it, we should do it quickly.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Is I hear Councilman Clay. What is the consensus of the body on moving forward in this direction?
I agree.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea to look at it 3 months later.
Okay. All right. And Councilman Taylor, what are your thoughts? Where'd he go? Did we lose Councilman Taylor? I don't see him. Mr. Hicks, do you see him?
No, he dropped off there. So
all right.
We'll come back.
So for those who are present right now, the consensus is to move forward with an examination of a possible moratorium on multi-tenant retail centers. All right, Ms. Washington, next.
Sounds good. Thank you guys for that. So the next thing is hookah and cigar bars / lounges. So we've had quite a few inquiries about a few of these different establishments in the city. We don't have any that are completely dedicated hookah and cigar lounges right now. However, we do have several bars and restaurants that do have hookah, and that has been a grandfathered in use. Basically, if they can prove that they had it before it was prohibited, we allow them to continue to have it. That has created a desire for more places to have it. And the code is a little unclear. We do list hookah lounges as a prohibited use, but the definition for hookah lounges is pretty broad in what it's an establishment where hookah is used to smoke a flavored tobacco or herbal product. So it's pretty broad. We're wondering if you wanted to prohibit specifically hookah lounges where that is the only use of that establishment, or if we're looking to prohibit hookah as a whole throughout the city. We've also had an inquiry about having hookah outdoors versus indoors, and how we feel on that front. And I also included some of the different regulations at the federal and county level. These would have to be 21 and up establishments if they're going to serve hookah at all. So it's just something to note.
I don't, I mean, if an establishment has an outdoor patio area that is, I mean, if people can smoke cigarettes, then I'm not sure what the distinction is if they can't smoke hookah.
Agreed.
I'm unclear about that. And we have establishments in the city already that are doing it, that are advertising that they're doing it. So
is there any issue with drugs, Mayor?
Councilman Clay, I have never smoked a hookah.
Neither have I.
I'm probably the last person to actually ask about that particular question, but I do see someone by the last name of Williford who might be able to help us.
Yes, marijuana and hashish and others could be smoked through a hookah.
Okay.
That is entirely possible.
Okay.
So if we're not sure, we can always, this is just, we're looking to get some more guidance on where we should be and shouldn't be allowing hookah. The code is just a little unclear, and we're just looking for what the intent was when this was listed as because right now it's just listed as a prohibited use throughout the city. It does say hookah lounges. It doesn't say use of hookah. And then as well, the cigar lounge aspect of this. So right now, it's kind of a hot ticket item in city of Atlanta and throughout the metro area is having these cigar lounges. Does that count as hookah? Is that a separate thing? We do have a retail cigar shop. They're not allowed, their business license says, no consumption on site. It's retail only. But, they asked if they could have cigars on site, and we don't have anything in the code to say yes or no on that. So just in general, also has to be a 21 and up establishment. But how do we feel that those are different uses, hookah and cigars? Do we feel like they should be regulated the same and we should be prohibiting? So our interpretation for the one cigar retail shop that we have was, well, we prohibit hookah, which is the smoking of tobacco. So you can't smoke cigars on site. Now, as the mayor said, should you be able to do it outside? Right now, yes for cigars and no for hookah, because you can smoke cigarettes outside, similar to cigars. But since we prohibit hookah specifically, right now our interpretation is to say no hookah outside. So there's a few different ways you can go. I can always bring this back if we feel like we need more time to take some consideration on it.
Nikki, I have one question. Is that interpretation deal with selling the hookah pipes? Because we currently sell hookah pipes in our gas marts. So if you can sell it, can you smoke it?
So they're not supposed to be selling actual hookah pipes in convenience stores.
We are, Chief.
I think it's considered drug paraphernalia, Roderick.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, but I'm saying, I'm trying to see now, can they distinguish it? Can they now, if we approve this, they say, well, we can smoke it, we can sell it, and it's, you get my point?
Yeah.
No, so we did ask for actually an interpretation from the city attorney on that exact section, and from that office, their interpretation was that the drug paraphernalia section would not apply to restaurants offering hookah service. That section is specifically under retail and convenience stores, so the selling of those actual products. Whereas, you know, at restaurants, they're just selling the tobacco and providing the hookah. You shouldn't be allowed to buy a hookah at that establishment. The actual pipe, I guess, is what we call it.
I think that I feel like we need a little bit more information, a little bit more. I mean, unless someone's got a real level of expertise about this.
But Mayor, let me make a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to figure out somewhere where we can parse this thing so we can segregate into different categories. And one of the things I'm thinking about is cigars. I'm not a cigar smoker or a cigarette smoker, so I don't really have any skin in the game. But cigars aren't typically, and I'd hope Chief Williford would jump in on this, aren't associated with people slipping in marijuana or what have you.
Oh yeah, they are. They are. They're blunts.
Yes.
I know that much. I've never smoked one, but I do know that much, Councilman Clay.
Okay.
They are most definitely.
Okay, so you can't. That just shows what how naive I am on that subject. Okay, so you can't sort it out that way, but you can have marijuana in a cigarette too. I mean, for all that.
You can put marijuana wherever you want.
You bet, and you can put it in cookies. Anyhow, marijuana is going to end up being legalized all over anyhow, so it's probably going to be a moot point a few years from now, for better or for worse. But I don't know. And if it's typically associated with a drug culture, then I think we want to try to prohibit it. So if you can say that about hookah, then we ought to restrict it. If it's not typically associated with a drug culture, even though you can put it in your cigar, Mayor.
But I mean, like Black and Milds, right? Like that's a fairly, I mean, somebody please help me here because I'm outside of my element. But
typically your convenience store cigars like Black and Mild, Swishers, those types of cigars.
And Swisher Sweets, right.
Yes. Those are the ones primarily used for marijuana and even lacing tobacco with cocaine or with other drugs. Typically, cigar shops, though, sell higher end cigars, and that's not necessarily the problem for those type of establishments.
So can you help us out, Chief? Can you help us out? Where should we draw the line? Do you draw it at hookah pipes? Do you draw it at a certain kind of cigar?
Anything you do is going to meet a challenge from some group or another. The hookah people are going to complain if you don't address cigars, then you're discriminating against us. The cigar shop, same thing. The thing about the hookahs is they came to this country as part of the drug culture, but they've grown in popularity with the influx of people from other parts of Europe and the Middle East. They're common practice over there. They're primarily used for tobacco in places like Turkey and the Middle East. But their origins here in the U.S. were primarily from drug use, and they can still be used for that. If the upside is they don't give the odor that cigars do. And so, you know,
can we? I'm sorry, Chief. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
The only way I can think to do anything reasonably with it would be, from a health standpoint, would be to maybe think about a smoking ban for restaurants inside.
Do you think we need a little bit more information or do a little bit more research before we sit here and make a decision?
I think we do.
Amen. But who's going to do it before we just kick the can down the road? I totally agree. We need more information and research. But whose bailiwick does this fall into?
We will figure it out and we will bring it back to you.
Well, I think we can get the type of questions that Nikki and the people, you know, are considering with the variance. I think the police chief, I think, you know, we can get several people to kind of look at it and give us some more information.
Yeah, and Mercedes coordinate that. Good.
All right. Ms. Washington.
All right, so that one sounds like maybe it might be a good workshop item.
Yeah, I honestly, I think I honestly think that some of these others are good workshop items as well, but like this next one.
Yeah, so I'm going to skip that one real quick, and I'm going to go to the TOD because I think this is an easier one. These residential uses where they should be permitted. So we think that there was an oversight in the code when this says clearly residential uses second floor and above only. However, in our TOD district right now, we do have several single family homes, duplexes, triplexes that, you know, look like traditional single family homes where obviously the residential is not second floor and above. And basically the question is, do we want to continue to allow those types of uses in our TOD district and only require second floor and above for these new apartment complex, multifamily establishments versus, you know, traditional single family structures? Does that sound like a correct, that's how we have been interpreting the code. But as we see more and more action around Main Street, we really want to make sure we're getting it right as far as what we're allowing in these areas.
So you're saying, Nikki, that if you were to build a new structure, that you'd require residential above the first floor?
Yes,
but,
second floor.
But you would allow somebody who had let's say they had a large house. Mm-hmm. They could turn it into a quadruplex if they wanted to, because we're allowing higher density in the TOD. Is that where you're kind of going?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And it also would, this interpretation would also allow for the use of, you know, commercial in the front of a single family home and then residential in the rear of a single family home. We've gotten some of that for the properties along Virginia Avenue. Those properties, you know, that kind of have that commercial up front, but they're traditional single family homes. You know, would we allow a live work space there? Or would we require, say, no, absolutely not, you can only live on the second floor?
Well, what would be the advantage or objective to forcing them to live on the second floor? If you're building a new building and you want it to be high density, you want a bunch of people above the first floor and you'd like to get some retail in there. We're trying to get mixed use in these areas. But if somebody has an existing structure, why wouldn't you allow them to do that? I would think. That's
Right,
sort of where I am.
That's exactly what we're looking for. And I think too, you can look at some of the TOD that's on the east side of Main Street. There are several single family homes that are still single family homes that I think we want to allow to continue to be single family homes. We just want to make sure we allow for them to, have renovations, expand if they want to, that sort of thing. We want to make sure that we're getting that right as far as our interpretation of this.
Sounds good to me. I don't know about anybody else.
I mean, I think your interpretation is, I agree with your interpretation, but rest of the body?
I agree. I totally agree with what she's saying.
Councilman Gay?
I tend to agree.
All right, Councilman Taylor?
I agree also.
Have we lost your if you wouldn't mind, turn on your camera. Thank you, sir. All right. So I think staff is on the right track with that one.
Yeah. Okay, great. And I think we're at time for these zoning issues tonight. Because I know we can talk about the accessory uses probably for an hour. So I will bring those back to you guys in a workshop item, the hookah and the accessory structures, so that we can continue.
That sounds like a
wise decision.
Yes, I think that's a great idea. Thank you, Ms. Washington, where we can really dive into it. Sounds good. Appreciate all your work on this. And I really think that the way in which you've presented these in terms of the policy questions that we have to consider is a really great way to think about it. And I appreciate the framework with which y'all have done that. So thank you.
Of course. Thank you guys.
All right. So we're going to move on to the city attorney's report.
I'm good this evening.
You're good? Okay. So I get that's okay. All right. Thank you, sir. And the next is the city manager's report.
Well, my post office saga continues. I went over to Crown Road because nobody would answer the phone. Nobody over there would talk to me. So I am writing a letter to the state. So that's where I am now. So it continues.
May I make a suggestion, Mercedes?
Yes, yes, sir.
We've got some new senators, and we've got some state representatives and congressional representatives. I would work at the federal level. I wouldn't even, I mean, it's great to get the support from the state, but I'd work with the senators and our Congress people.
Okay, I'll be sending off my letters next week.
Well, I think we might have an opportunity, since we were just on the phone with, or on calls with a lot of those offices, to follow up.
You bet.
So
we'll take care of it as long as they don't put my picture in the post office now for stalking. But I'll.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Anything else, Ms. Miller? Anything
No,
else?
that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Reporter, Mayor, and Council, Councilman Clay.
I would just like to know how are we doing on the speed humps? I'd like to comment on Herschel Road. I understand one of the comments earlier was that there were signs in one place. Well, obviously that needs to be fixed, 35 versus 25. But the intent is to put down a number of speed cushions on Herschel Road. And I'm assuming that what they just saw was the beginning of that. Is that correct, either Chief or Mike?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay, so Amy, hang in there. There's more speed cushions coming on Herschel Road. And the next thing is we have to decide exact locations for the speed cushions on Walker and Mercer. And I'm bringing this up at council meeting as opposed to working it offline, because I want people who are on the meeting or listening to the meeting to hear that it's coming. They know that it's coming, but they don't know where. So I'm going to be working with the chief and primarily the chief to pick a location. that Mike can install these when we get them in, and that will be probably what, in a couple months, Chief?
Yes, sir. Roughly
Okay, so
6 to 8
so
weeks.
rather than waiting till they get in, you may see us walking down Walker and Mercer, looking at the places, and if people want to give me some feedback on, it's published in the last packet. I think it was last meeting packet, if I remember rightly. Maybe not. Maybe it was previous meeting, where the range of these houses were on Mercer and Walker, and we're going to be trying to zero in on an exact location in that range. So if you want to send me an email saying I want it in front of my house, okay, as long as it's within that range, good enough.
There are certain guidelines we have to abide by.
Right.
In
But you
terms of
guys
the-
have already given me, you guys have already given me a valid range, haven't you?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if it's anywhere between 1840 and 1860, let's say, then we can decide, we have to decide on exactly where in that area. So we're going to be doing that. It's more of an announcement than anything else. We're going to be doing that over the next couple of months. I just haven't had time to get to it yet. That's all I had.
All right. Thank you, sir. Councilman Taylor.
Yes, I only have one thing. I want to send my condolences to the Gaston family. Mike was a great guy, great father, great husband, and all those good things. I just remember some of the conversations we had, and the main thing about Mike, he was the type of guy that had the answer. I'm going to miss him more for things like that, just inspiration. I can go to him for a lot of different things. And I want to thank Miss Gaston and the kids and the grandkids for putting Mike out on loan to us, the city of College Park, for the many years that he's worked here. I want to thank you guys for what you did, and anything you need from College Park or from me and my family personally, we're here for you guys. We're on the phone call away. That's the only thing I have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Councilman Allen.
Yeah, I agree with that. First thing I had was thoughts and prayers for the family and friends of Mike Gaston. He will be missed. Second of all, my BITA selection will come at next council. I've gotten a couple of last minute inquiries, so I will make a decision, and that will come at next council. I'll ask for your guidance. I'd like to welcome Joanne Young to the HR and to the city of College Park. And, I miss when we had new people coming in, new employees at council, where they would come up and we would see them and hear their names and where they're working. I don't know if we can work out a program where if we can just list them on the agenda, and the new employees and where they're going to be working, or people that have 5 years or 10 years, with the company. Somehow we ought to be able to recognize them virtually. And maybe if we just take 2 minutes and show their picture and say, here's the new employee, or here's somebody that's been employed 5 years in the police department. I just think it's a good thing. So if we could do that, that would be good. And I'll just look to your all's guidance. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Allen. Councilman Gay.
Yes, good evening. I just have a couple of things. First of all, thank you, City Manager, for contacting 2 of the cities that are joined, at least my ward. I'm sure there are others. So I did talk with the code people for White regarding the blighted properties on White City Road. I'm happy to learn that they are working on it. So appreciate you reaching out to them. We want to look at Mannaheim, that the lot is, I guess that's Ward 4, I'm not sure, but we want to reach out to them, maybe get Lieutenant Wilson and Shia Townsend to go over there and see if they can help us out on keeping that right away a little bit kept up, and I think we'll be okay there. And thanks to City of South Fulton for making a couple sweeps on White City Road. I can see the difference today when I drove down there. The second thing is, Mr. Hugh, can you touch briefly on the tree trimming that one of the constituents pointed out? I think I know the answer, but I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, we we, of course, are trimming our power lines. And I think what the problem might be is we can only go like 55 feet up, and there may be some canopy limbs hanging way over our power lines, 70, 80 feet up. But pretty much the power lines are pretty clear within 10 feet of them. So we'll write it again and see if we find any other problems there. But and then a lot of times people will see the communication cable covered up with tree limbs, but that's not ours. And we get calls on that. So that could be some of it you see. And
the
yeah,
public,
we'll write it, look at it again.
Yes, sir. And the public should know that the outage we had in the last severe weather, that tree actually came from Camp Truett over there. It wiped out one of our transformers. So that was just out of our control. The other thing is I'd like to start a conversation about rent moratorium. What I'm finding out is that the several property owners that we have, at least in my ward and in my adjoining ward, the rents are escalating, some as high as $1,200. And I'm getting calls that some of the improvements does not warrant that. And so I would like to know, I see there is a rent moratorium conversation in the city of Atlanta, to see if there's a way that we can start trying to find some relief for our renters, which represent a large portion of our demographics. And I too would like to give my condolences to the Gaston family. I have like to share, I know I'm not the only person that share members with Mike, as we just heard, but a little secret is that he and I did lunch monthly in the shop, in the machine shop. And he would talk about his fishing, and he goes to his phone and he showed me West Point, and he fished over at Piedmont Driving Club. And he was very proud of the shop. He had recently
I think we've got some technical difficulties with Councilman Gay.
Right.
Yeah. When his connection resumes, which I'm sure it will shortly. Oh, okay. Councilman Gay, you froze there for a moment. So you were talking about Mr. Gaston and the two of you in lunch in the shop, and he was fishing in West Point, and then you froze. So please go ahead.
I was just trying to say that we just shared a great relationship. He loved College Park. And we would just sit and talk, and I'm just kind of grieving right now, but I just will miss Mike. And his wife reached out to me today, and I appreciate that call. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. I will be brief as well. I too send my condolences to the Gaston family and appreciate everything Mr. Gaston did as a member of our Public Works Department to help our city, and know that we grieve with you in this difficult time. And the other thing that I wanted to add was that starting today, Fulton County started an emergency rent. They opened up their emergency rental assistance application period. And so I know that I've gotten a lot of people reaching out to me about rental assistance, and the city didn't have anything on our own, but Fulton County does. So there is an opportunity. Residents can apply online at fultoncountyga.gov/rent help. Again, that's fultoncountyga.gov/rent help. There is also a call center number, 833-716-2223. Again, 833-716-2223. And that information is on our website, College Park GA, as well. So if you didn't get it all, then you can go to our website to get that information. I would urge you, if you are in need of rental assistance, to apply as soon as possible. DeKalb County had over $20 million available and basically got enough applications the first day to exhaust their entire fund. So I don't know how long it's going to last. Fulton County's got about $18 million, I believe about 10% of that can be used for administrative costs. So we're talking about $16 million. So it sounds like a lot of money, but for over 500,000 people and the need being so great, it's not going to be a lot. And so apply as soon as possible. For those of you who have not been vaccinated yet and want to be vaccinated, the GICC is a vaccination location for Fulton County. They have the Moderna vaccine, and the Pfizer vaccine is being offered at the Delta Flight Museum on Virginia Avenue in Hapeville. And so you can sign up through the state for that one. Go to fultoncountyga.gov to sign up to get to the GICC. We are thrilled to be able to offer this to the entire South Side because it is vitally important as we move forward in this, in battling this pandemic. I know at least half the council has gotten their 2 shots. So we're happy about that. And we've actually launched a campaign for those folks in the city who have gotten their vaccines to kind of tell you why it was so important for them to get theirs. So that is all I have. I know that we have to approve some executive session minutes, and there's a motion out of executive session as well that needs to be addressed. But let's take a look at the minutes first. Is there a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Gay. All those in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Oh, thank you, sir. All right, that is unanimous. All right, there is one motion.
Yeah, I will make a motion to approve the sale of the property associated with the power facility. I don't remember the number of the proposal.
I think I need authorization to execute a resolution.
Authorization to execute a resolution. To that effect.
All right. Is everyone clear on that motion? All right. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. All right. So I believe that is the conclusion of our business this evening. I appreciate everyone. We'll see you on March 15th. This meeting is adjourned at 9:53. Take care. Have a good night.
Good night, all.
Aye.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.